This is a CO2 sensor and it costs about $20. And for 3 days, it sat in my office silently recording data. And this is what that data looked like. Now, some people might see noise, just random fluctuations, but this is really the record of those 3 days. When someone opened the door, when the last person left on Tuesday, and we can even explain why Wednesday looks different than Monday. So in today's video, we're going to extract all the information using nothing but Python and signal processing. Let's get started. Let me explain. I have an ESP32 setup with an NDIR CO2 sensor. Now this isn't a measurement proxy, it's actually directly measuring the absorption of CO2 and giving me a quantitative amount. In this experiment, it's sampling every minute over 3 working days, a small office around 30 cubic meters. And the way I've set this notebook up is that you can actually copy everything without direct access to the data because I've actually built a simulated data set based on my own lab results. Now, the SCD41 has an accuracy of about 40 parts per million. And we're gonna have to consider that when we start factoring signal to noise, and in particular, this will come in handy when we do our signal smoothing. So let's get started. Let's talk through what we see in this raw data here. We have our 1000 ppm hazard threshold illustrated in this red line, and then we have the average outdoor CO2 around 420 parts per million illustrated with this dotted line down below. There are a couple significant spikes which would suggest that the room is now occupied, and we also have some negative slopes here where we might suggest that there's been some ventilation added or a door opened. We have a large working session from the late morning into the evening, indicated by this huge peak there, and we even see Tuesday was another full work day. Now, interestingly, Wednesday looks significantly shorter, and once we add annotations, you will see why this is the case. So before we start computing derivatives and looking at slope to detect occupancy, let's do some signal smoothing. With signal smoothing, there's always trade-offs. If we use a small window, we're going to allow a lot of noise in the experiment. If we use a window that's too large, we could be smoothing out features that are critical to our understanding of the data. And so there's always a judgment call. In this notebook, I'm going to use a window size of 15 minutes, but we can always adjust that to explore the effects it has on the data, particularly as we start integrating more downstream processing. I have a window variable here that I'm instantiating at 15 minutes, and I'm going to add a new column to my data frame called CO2 smooth, and I'm just going to be using a combination of the rolling window with my mean attribute. And here we see we have the smooth data here in the dark blue lines, and below that is the raw data. If I change my window size to 2 hours, we see that we really begin smoothing out those features, and we can start to see the raw data start to separate from our smooth data set. Now, here's where things start to get interesting. Now that we've understood the raw data and we've started doing some signal processing with smoothing, let's apply the derivative. And we expect that when there is a steep increase, the room will be occupied or the ventilation is poor. And when there's a steep decrease, the room is being ventilated or vacated, or maybe even both. And so let's do that by using the .diff method on our CO2 smooth data. And illustrated here is our smooth data on the top panel. And where we have a red trace, we have accumulation. This is where the slope is positive. And where we have blue, we have a negative slope, and when the CO2 is now decreasing. And of course, if we were to smooth this out, we would begin smoothing out this derivative plot there. And again, this is where those trade-offs matter. If we really want the higher frequency signal, which also could be noise, we want to keep our window size fairly small. If we just want to see broad trends, then we can obviously increase our smoothing window. Now let's begin interpreting what these plots tell us. If we look at Monday morning, we see that the room occupancy begins around 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock, because we have this large block there. There's also a sharp spike here, which could correspond to the window opening or the door opening, because there's a rapid decrease in the amount of CO2. And then perhaps that was closed because we have a spike positive again. And then maybe here is when the room was vacated for lunch for 20 minutes, and now the room is occupied again. And so even with all of this change in signal, we can start to see patterns that are emerging as a function of the workday. Now let's detect occupancy using a few rules or heuristics. I'm going to say the room is occupied if the CO2 threshold is 550, and the rate of increase is 0.3 parts per million per minute. Again, these are variables that we can adjust depending on how sensitive we want this sensor to be. Let's run this, and we can start to see the occupancy, where based on these rules in the pink or peach is where we're predicting or where we're determining the room to be occupied based on those cutoffs. And as we adjust this, we can change the outputs. Now, is this a perfect technique? Definitely not, but it does start to capture real occupancy as a function of the results. And I can tell you this is very similar to what I'm seeing with my real data collected from this office. So one of the other benefits of how this code is scripted is that we can actually see those windows. And based on that, we have our November 4th. The room is occupied between midnight 03 and midnight 08. Do you see it that way? I don't know why I like to say midnight 0, but you know. And then again at 2:38 to 3:08 and throughout. So we can see all the windows where we are detecting occupancy. And interestingly, with all the AI and machine learning we have access to, this is just using simple physics. Just what does the CO2 do? How does it change? And can we use that as a rule? And there's something nice and elegant about the simplicity of this approach. So earlier, we did mention that the slope could play a role. And there's probably a couple different regimes where the slope changes differ. Let's say we have a sharp slope in which there's forced ventilation, or we have a gradual slope where maybe instead of 2 people in the office, we have 1, and so the clearance rate is somewhat moderate. And so let's use that information to set a vent rate threshold of -7.5. The purpose of this is to try to separate active ventilation from passive ventilation. Now that we've set that threshold, if we look at the plot, we can see where we're estimating ventilation events because of that steep negative slope. If I lower it to say 3.5, you can see how many more events are detected, and now likely having a sensor that's a little too sensitive for the reality or physics of this room. Now, we could start looking at recovery curves, and you can see the equations here for how we could determine that. I'm not going to go over this first order process here, but I will try to figure out where I can store this notebook so you have access to it and all the data you need to run these experiments. Lastly, let's get to section 7, where we have the complete picture, where we can start looking at the CO2 concentration, both raw and smooth, the rate of change, and a binary rule for the occupancy state with an actionable output. And so this figure allows us to see everything we've done over the course of this tutorial. Yes, there's quite a bit of code, but it's important that we've walked through all of this to tell a compelling story. The top panel has our rolling CO2 values. We've even annotated some of the events, perhaps where the window is open, the morning work session, where we have lunch here, so maybe the door was open at this point, with our afternoon work session. And then as we move towards the evening, we have a late night work session and a half work day on Wednesday. With that, we can see the differences in the rate of change of our CO2 as a function of these different events, whether we're in the office, take a lunch break, or have this half working day there. And we can see the rise and fall of CO2. Lastly, we can see where we have this binary state here, where the room is either occupied, elevated by this line there, or empty based on the blank spaces there. Now, this is all a rules-based argument. Of course, you can apply different techniques, some that are even more sophisticated than this, or determine the occupancy. Now, the sensor doesn't necessarily know who's in the room, but the CO2 does give us a lot of insight as to whether the room might be occupied. And in future videos, we can extend this to multiple rooms, or I can use the fact this data is streaming via MQTT to give me a live dashboard of room occupancy. Again, if you want the notebook and this data set, let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.